Hey there, everybody. We got a special little video here on the Ace Maneuvers channel today. I'm joined by TC, which stands for The Champion now, the winner of the most recent Webcam Circuit Championship event. And he reached out to me and wanted to a little bit of a deck profile. A lot of people have been asking him questions about the deck. So, wherever you want to kick it off, TC, let them know what the deck is, what it's about, and how it works.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Okay. Um, so I played Hoover 1 at the Webcam Circuit recently, and I want to do a deck profile for you guys. So we're going to explain very briefly, essentially how the thinking was for building the deck, and hopefully it'll help you guys understand like how to play it if you want to take it and play it, or how to like deck build. Just kind of pick my brain on that. So I'm just gonna start by reading the character, the front and the back, so we understand like why um, some of the cards I chose associate with it. So Bertolt Hoover is a six-hander with 35 health. He has a response and a form on the front side. The response is after your attack is completely blocked, add it to your momentum. And the form is once per turn, discard one card and draw one card. Then if a player has 9 or more foundations, transform Bertolt Hoover. When you transform, you have an instant that goes off immediately. It's after this card transforms, Rune X, and your rival loses X health, where X equals your momentum. And then you have a new enhance and a new response. Your enhance is your attack gains stun 1 and gets 3 damage. And the response is once per turn, after your rival flips a foundation, they sacrifice it. So with that in mind, I chose to play on the Chaos symbol. I'm gonna go through the first like the core cards of the deck, and then how I branched out to aid those core cards. So first thing, I'm gonna start with some attacks. The main attack of the deck was 4 Vast Hybrids. This attack is just super strong on Chaos. It does everything you need. It shuts off one of any foundation or an asset that might be on the stage that's gonna stop your kill turn probably. And this is like super helpful, especially in the current meta because everyone likes having like one or two like really key things on stage that'll stop you. So we have 4 Vast Hybrids. Also the momentum effect, the way it works with the character, if it's blocked, just goes straight there. You immediately get to use the +2 on the next attack. It's really nice. The next one is Determined Advance. I only ran 1, but I normally would run 3. I just don't own 3, so. But this card's really strong. It's a for those of you who don't know, it's one of the new ones. It's a 6/6 mid. The blitz is to add a card into the momentum from the top of your deck, so just adds an extra one for the form. It's great. And then the static on this though is super good in the current meta. It's this card's speed and damage can't be reduced, so it's just a 6/6 mid. And a lot of people
Well,
will let
so
this
it can't
hit.
be
And
reduced below printed, right? I just want to make that a little
I'm
clear.
sorry, below printed.
Yeah.
Yes,
If
thank
it
you,
couldn't
Sam.
be reduced at
Yeah,
all, that card, I'd be like, okay, you got to go buy 4,
yeah.
even if you only own 1,
No,
right?
no, no. Sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, this can't be reduced below printed. So it's a 6/6, like at worst case scenario, which is like super annoying to deal with. Um, Next we're gonna do the rapid speed slash. This is the promo alternate art for it, but this is the rapid speed slash, the 4/4 low. It has EX3 and Breaker 1. Its effect is if I have a momentum, I can either draw a card or add the top card deck to momentum, so it helps filter like more cards into momentum or my hand. So it's just a general good one as a forecheck. Um, and these are essentially the core attacks that I started with. I'm gonna introduce some of the core foundations really quick to help with the comboing that I started with. I did Award the Victor and Hungry for Fame. These two cards are really strong together with my character because it's created a situation in which your opponent has no good option while both of them are on board, especially like when Windows on board. But what Award the Victor does is if the attack deals damage, I can flip this card, put the attack on top of my deck, and then my next check to play an attack gets +2. And this is very obnoxious because my character, I can just form draw one, discard one, or discard draw. Sorry. So the combo is I dealt damage. I'll flip this, put an attack on top, and then draw it with my character and just play it again. This was like really potent at the event. And then Hungry for Fame is really nice because if they do block it, I'll just at the end of the turn it'll or immediately depending on if they full or half block. If they full block, it'll go immediately into the momentum, and then I can pick it up with Hungry for Fame on my next attack. Commit, flip, pick up the attack from momentum enhance. So essentially, this was the core of the deck. These cards. And it aided the character's momentum building very quick, and it was very threatening to deal with on the stage.
Yeah, so I think for me the biggest thing was I was really surprised that the only one determined advance. So to find out it really is just you only own the one copies makes the most sense. And then everyone knows I've been saying Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken is like maybe the best attack. I think it's the best attack in the format. What are your thoughts on Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It's definitely if it's not the number one, it's definitely like the top three. Uh, this is even more effective now than it was when it came out because when it came out, all it did essentially was a freeze and stun one of your choice, which is already strong, but it wasn't like going to be the answer, be all end all to everything. Because right now, there's a lot of people running assets to also help stop people from killing you. So this hits both, and now that it essentially does double duty, it's it definitely feels like you have to run it if you're playing chaos. If you're playing any of these symbols, you just have to play the card. It's just too good. It does everything you want. So yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It's very strong.
Okay, so take us through the rest of the attack lineup because these are the key cards and they make a lot of sense, right? Fast
Yeah,
Hybrid
yeah.
is a problem solver. It does an amazing thing in momentum. Rapid Speed Slash gives you optional card advantage whether it's to your momentum or not, and EX like you talked about is a big game ending ability. But what's the supporting role? What makes these cards kind of come together full circle, if you will?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'll finish the attack lineup. The ambush thrust is an extra version of Hungry for Fame essentially, but not something that is invested. I say it like this. I like to think of foundations as like investments on the stage, right? This is like something that I can just draw from the hand or hold in the momentum, so that it essentially equals one extra attack for me. Um, so finding one Hungry for Fame can, if this is in the momentum, right, will be Hungry for Fame will count as its own attack by picking this up, and then I'll play this and pick up another attack. So one foundation equals three attacks, right? Like that's like a combo that just makes it even more efficient to find even more attacks when I need it, right? So ambush thrust is an aid to Hungry for Fame. Same concept there. If for anyone who doesn't know what this does, this card says I can pick up a momentum to my hand, and if uh, your opponent has four or more foundations committed, I can destroy one of my foundations to give this 3 damage. So that's an efficiency play. Um, the other attack, next one is Deception Dagger. So normally I run 3 of these, not 4, but because I only have one determined advance, I added a fourth one. This card, it has stun 2 on it. It enhances, I can remove a card from my opponent's discard pile to give this attack speed equal to the block modifier of that removed card. So it's good for hitting your opponent's discard pile, like usually against Rodans or people running the combined firepower. The This also has a momentum effect. I can, while it's in the momentum, I can flip it to give a weapon attack stun to. And this itself is a weapon attack, so if I play another one, I can just stun 4. Rapid Speed Slash is a weapon, and Ambush Thrust is a weapon. And then the next attack I'll show is also a weapon. So I have like a decent amount of weapons. So this is always useful. Like it always does something on my stage. It's great. So this This just helps to the mid to late game, even the early game. This is good all game. Doesn't matter when I play it because stun 2 is just really strong.
So
Um,
that's the attack that you're replacing determined advance though. Like, what's your ideal ratio between deception dagger and determined advance?
yeah, so originally it was like this. I had 3 determined advance, 2 deception dagger. Although considering how it played in the last event, I think I'm going to do 3 deception daggers, um, uh, 3 determined advance, and 2 double troubles instead of 3 double troubles. But I think I'm going to be swapping double trouble out for other cards later. But just currently, this is what was played in the actual event.
Okay, cool. And then you mentioned the last attack there, I think it is, or how many more
Yeah,
attacks?
I got 2 more attacks. The next one's gonna be Walk the Dog. This is just really good. In general, it's another one of those really good chaos attacks. This is an 8 diff, 8 cost, 6/6 with stun 2 and stun 1 and powerful 3. It's enhanced as I can draw a card for every copy of Walk the Dog on my field, or sorry, in my card pool, and it gets -1 difficulty for every single committed foundation my opponent controls. So, um, usually this is coming in as a 5 or 4. Like it's almost always a 4 check whenever I play this. Um, so the 8 difficulty is not really a problem here. Um, this is really valuable for its speed, its base speed and damage. A 6/6 low is just always so difficult to deal with in like the early or the mid game. In the late game, it's a little more manageable, but if you play this as like your 4th attack, usually I have my opponent stunned out, so it'll just kill. But yeah, it's a great finisher and it's a strong card in general. And the last attack is Double Trouble. I wanted an Echo attack, and this is the best Echo attack that Chaos had when I built the deck, although that's changing very rapidly. Um, this is an Echo attack. It's 2 speed mid for 5 damage. It has stun 1. Its enhance is discard a card, draw a card, and then it has a twice enhance that I can't use because I'm not playing twice. But yeah, this is good for cycling. It's just an extra. Here are 2 attacks. When I'm transformed, essentially acts as a stun 4 because I'm playing it twice, and it's a stun 1 character, stun 1, and then stun 1 when I echo it, and then stun 1 again with my character. So this can just randomly hit your opponent's stage very hard. So it feels pretty good in that regard. But these are all the attacks that I'm running in the deck. The core cards are up here, and then these are essentially the support cards to the core cards. Or they're just good in general cards. And yeah, just no matter what I play, it just feels like there's almost no bad option. The worst case scenario is I pull Walk the Dog on the very first attack turn when nothing's committed. That's like the worst case scenario. But usually it's fine.
Okay, so then you talked about, you really want an echo. Is that, if there is one thing you could look for from a future set to replace
Mm-hmm.
any of the cards, is that what you're looking for? Just like a better echo attack, or what is this attack lineup? What would you want to see for it in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question because there's a lot of good attacks on Chaos, and I just kind of had to be like, what are the best for my character, right? Like I know like everyone wants to like build a deck and fundamentally your deck should function as best as it can with the character you're playing because this game is very reliant on how your character operates. I find that these attacks operate the best together with this character. So that's why I'm playing these ones like in conjunction with one another on this character because like these ones have momentum effects. The Echo, because I get momentum, like almost I'm guaranteed to get a momentum. So an Echo attack is always pretty good in a scenario like that. And then most of these attacks I want to replay. I want to pick up or replay with Hungry for Fame or War of the Victor. So it's very difficult to find a bad situation or like to find a hand where I pulled attacks I didn't want. That almost never happens. So for
Okay.
like efficiency reasons, or maybe that's the wrong word, but it was very hard for me to find a hand that was just not good because all of the attacks are are doing good things. Like Ambush Thrust would be like bad to draw on the very first attack turn, which is why I'm only playing 2 instead of 3 or 4. But like those are like the worst case scenarios, and they almost never happen. But even if they did happen, it doesn't matter. I would still play it just to get into the momentum, because getting cards in the momentum um, is how you win the game in this deck. It doesn't matter what happens on the first turn. Your goal is to win in the mid to the late. And if you can win in the early to mid, that's great. Like, do that too. But the goal of the deck was, I need a deck that can play healthily in the early game, but progresses very, very well into the mid to late game, meaning like by turn 3, 4, 5, right? And this deck can do that like really well. It's very, very threatening by turn 3 or 4 if I'm playing against a stall deck.
Okay, very cool. Did you have any actions or assets mainboarded?
I didn't have any assets mainboarded. I did have an action mainboarded. I was gonna go through that together with the foundations, because I have the foundations organized in a certain way. So let me get to that. Let me just continue with explaining like the series of foundations that I played to support this game plan.
Okay, yeah, hit me with it.
Okay, so these 3 foundations, I played 4 of all of them, 4 copies of each. A Master's Pride, Nice Try, Hitch's Greatest Monster. This is one of the changes I made from when I played in Atlanta. These cards are just amazingly strong in what I'm trying to do. So these cards all re-ready themselves somehow. History's Greatest Monster, we'll start with this one. It says, once per turn, Tenacious. After you play a card with a printed difficulty of 5 or greater, ready this card. So as you can see, like half of my cards that'll proc on. Really, really easy to get this off. And then Deadlock Enhance. It has a deadlock, and this is the main deadlock. This is essentially the main card that causes my opponents to not go into deadlock. Just this one. It says commit. Your attack gains throw. And that's usually enough to stop anyone from going past 10. Because if they go past 10 or I transform, all my attacks are suddenly not for 4 or 6. They're for 10 or like 9 or 8 each attack.
Yeah, and I think what a
So
lot of people forget is they're so used to History's Greatest Monster being like, something that just readies itself so you can play cards more. But once you
yeah,
get to Deadlock, you can make your first attack a throw, and then you can play another attack and then ready it and make 2 attacks a throw in a turn, which is way better than I think pretty much any other Deadlock foundation in the game is right now.
yeah, yeah. You said you can play this like 1 card equals 2 deadlock procs, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because as long as you have your second attack, is 5 difficulty or higher, which you
Yeah,
got plenty of them.
yeah. So yeah, and really quickly for this too, it's if someone's wondering like how you can use this deadlock twice, right? Um, it's very interesting because I caught someone like this where I had 2 of these built, and they were thinking, oh, I only have to deal with a throw attack once, or sorry, twice, because I have 2 of these. When in reality, if you have 2, that's actually 4 procs, because when you play an attack, you don't commit this to re-ready it. You'll just commit it to use the deadlock enhance, and then your next attack, if it's as long as you can proc the response to ready it, you'll ready it, and then enhance with it again. So 1 equals 2, 2 will equal 4. Enhances of deadlock. Um, so having more than one of these is super threatening in a deadlock situation, unless your opponent can hit it somehow. Um, but yeah, this was like hugely important in how this deck operated. Nice Try is another foundation that re-rated itself to help me defend, though. This is not for attacking, this is for defending. This one can be used for offense or defense. This one's only defense. This one is enhance. Commit. This attack gets -2 speed. Response. After your rival's combat phase begins, ready this foundation and playable while committed. So this is just useful when I'll play attacks and commit this during my turn, and then when my opponent's turn starts, it re-readies so that I have the -2 speed committal enhance on it, or just to pass checks. So this is just this allows me to play extra cards without having the cost of playing extra cards essentially. And then in Master's Pride, this one actually works super well with the character because my character I can use the response in the middle of my attack turn. The response on this card says flip. After you add a card to your momentum, ready this card, playable while committed. So while this is committed, if I add a card to my momentum, let's say with Determined Advanced Blitz, right, to add card to my momentum, or if they full block an attack, it'll go over to my momentum with my character response. I can just respond with this, flip, ready it, so that I can continue playing attacks as if I didn't commit anything. This one also has a deadlock enhance, or response, sorry, this which is pretty helpful if I have it face up. It says after your attack deals damage, your next check gets +1. So this is like not once per turn. So if they're in deadlock and I have this up, or if I have two of these up even, and I deal damage, I'm like +2 of my next check, +2 of my next check on every move after that if I can keep dealing damage. So this can be very lethal depending on the situation, but usually I use it to just re-ready. It's like really important.
Do you remember
Uh,
any point in the tournament or how many opponents actually went to deadlock against you and how often you got to use these effects?
yeah, I never got to use the deadlocks. No one went. Actually, I don't think a single person, save for I think you, got to 10 foundations because they didn't want to let me transform. Which is funny because the way I built this deck, I forgot to explain that earlier. I built this deck on purposely to not need the transform. The transform was a bonus. I play for the front side. I don't play for the back side. But if I get to the back side, it's just extra. It's like extra kill power.
Yeah, the plus
Um,
3 damage in stun one is pretty easy to underrate. I know that when I build Bert1 one decks, I'm so hyper focused on the when you transform, ruin, and lose health element that I forget that a lot of the games I win playing Bert1 one is just transforming when my opponent has their defenses down, and they forget that 3 damage in stun one is gonna present lethal with just about any attack string.
yeah, I mean, as long as you pull enough attacks, and unfortunately for a lot of people, as long as I pull one attack, that one attack can turn into like four attacks. Really easily with how the War of the Victor Hungry for Fame operates, ambush thrust operates and stuff. Um, but yeah, I just essentially will play for the front side. This whole deck operates extremely well on just the front side. If my opponent gives me 9 foundations, or if I get to 9 and I choose to use the forum to flip, I'll probably have like one or two vast hybrid chimera krakens in the momentum, maybe one or two deception daggers, right? Which just means that I have from my momentum stun 2 +2 speed. Um, I have things in the momentum I can use just to make the string even more crazy. Or like I did this a couple times. I had deception dagger in the momentum. I'll use the deception dagger in the momentum to give a weapon attack stun 2, and then I'll just pick up the deception dagger. I just flip with Hungry for Fame and just play that next. Like so, I'll just stun 2 again. Like there's actually a lot of versatility by being able to essentially invest. Right, you're investing with all the attacks in your momentum. You're holding them there for future turns. Is the fundamental concept of this deck. Everything that you put on the stage, it's an investment for the next turn and the next turn and the next turn until you're like, okay, this is enough to kill. And then you'll just go for the kill. But yeah, going back to these really quick. So I have 12 cards that re-ready themselves. These 8 cards can be used to re-ready themselves during my attack turn, so I can keep attacking. These ones are readied at my opponent's turn. These 4 are ready on my opponent's turn, and it helped me defend with -2 speed.
Very cool stuff. Yeah, I know. I also know Nice Try is a little hotly contested in David's Discord. I know David Toombs is not a big believer in Nice Try, but man, it feels like it goes so good with higher difficulty attack lineups. And Toombs
Yeah,
has a lot of those sweet 5 diffs.
yeah, so yeah. This deck is only really able to defend pretty okay because of these 12 cards. If I had just 8, let's just say, in testing, I did a lot of testing with this. That's why I moved. I was running 3-3-3. at Atlanta. I changed it to 4-4-4 because these were the most important cards in general gameplay. Stepping away from the deck for like just a second. Fundamentally, Universe's gameplay. You need foundations to defend. These 12 cards answer that need by allowing me to play a little bit over aggressively on my turn for free, right? So for that reason, it essentially buffers the situation of, oh, you played too many attacks. Like I'm sure, like as you saw on stream, I never really played too many attacks, right? Because of how these cards worked. Like once or twice I did, but that's because I knew that if my opponent was going to try to actually deal a lot of damage to me, they would overcommit and just let me kill them next turn. So sometimes, like the way that I play, I will on purposely overextend because I know they're not going to kill me. There's no way. And if they try to like do a lot of damage to me, they'll just hurt themselves for my next attack turn. So I'll try to bait you to attacking me like a lot, essentially, by overcommitting sometimes. But in general, yeah, these 12 cards were vitally important to and how the deck and how I play the deck. Like I would not reduce these at all. I'd keep them at 4.
Very cool. So what's the next most important card?
Yeah, so next I was thinking, well, how do I, defend my stage against people who want to hit my stage, right? Because there's a lot of that going on in the game right now. So my first immediate thought was my favorite one diff, Chivalrous Competitor, very strong. This is a 1 difficulty foundation. Its enhance is flip both players draw a card, and then the response is before one of your foundations would be destroyed or flipped due to your rival's character effect, flip this foundation instead. So this is just having one of these is a protects any of my foundations against a target flip or destruction. So this is like very important. And then struggling with studies, I was running 4 chivalrous, 3 struggling with studies. This one's a protection card against flip. This 1 difficulty has a response that says before one of your foundations would be flipped due to a rival effect, flip this foundation instead. And then it has an enhance. It says flip if this is your rival's 3rd or greater attack this combat phase, add 1 card from your card pool to your hand. So this is a defensive piece, but also protection piece. It helps me defend like with cards in my hand. So having this on board lets me play an extra card out of my hand in most situations because I'll know that I'll block 1, take 1, then block again with the card I blocked with the first time, right? Or this also lets me pick up the action card which I'll introduce next, which is very funny actually for defending a long string of attacks. It's very helpful in doing that. But yeah, these cards essentially, this is draw. This is you can consider this a defensive draw because it draws the card from your card pool back into your hand to defend with. But yeah, these are the cards I defended my stage with. And then if I absolutely needed to, drew an extra card with Chivalrous, or picked up a card on my card pool with Struggling with Studies. Okay, and then so these next 2 cards are the like raw defense. This is like the defense of the deck. So as you can see, I don't really have defense except for Nice Try. Right now, like showing on stage and struggling, I guess, but this is like real defense, -2 speed. These cards allow me to essentially play like this. So I'm running 4 Broken Psyches. This is a 2 difficulty foundation. It says response, remove. After you take damage from an unblocked attack, add 1 card with a check value of 6 from your discard pile to your hand, playable while committed. So I don't run any 6s in here, but if someone takes this and adds a 6 diff, this can be hugely important to help you add a card to your hand to defend with. I don't use it. I don't use that response, but it is some cool tech that I think is actually really good if you have a 6 check in your deck. The enhance on this is why I use it though. Flip, discard 1 momentum, changes attack's damage to 2. So this is because it's a foundation, right? It's another investment, right? Investment. It stays on my stage, and it says, hey, I always have this on board. If there's an attack I can't block or you send a big one, I might just bring it to 2. So just having it on board will cause your opponent sometimes to play around it and not buff their attack maybe all the way. Like I had people, just by having one of these on board, they would on purposely buff their attack like halfway. They would maybe, instead of going to 10, go to 8, right? And I'd be like, that's fine, I'll just take 8, right? Like I saved 2 health just by not using it. Or maybe I'll be forced to use it because because they're sending a huge attack and I have to block it. And I can't block, but I can use Broken Psyche to bring it to 2. So it's very versatile in how you can use it. When to use this card, I think is the tricky part, is when to decide to use this. But I always have momentum because of how my character works. So this is always live whenever I play it. So this helps me when I can't defend on my hand. And then I have one other card. It's Runaway. Runaway is an action that you play from, or sorry, it's an action card. You use it defensively from your hand. When its effect is response. Lose X health before the damage step of your rival's unblocked attack. It deals no damage. Add the top card of your rival's discard pile to their card pool, and then I lose health equal to the base damage of the opponent's attack. So if my opponent plays a rapid speed slash, let's say, which is a 4/4, and they send it at me for 10 damage, they buff it to 10 damage, and then I say I don't block, but then I respond with Runaway, I'll lose 4 health because it has 4 base damage, and then I check for 5, and then I can, and then they clog the card pool with top card of the discard pile. So this is like very, very helpful at defending against string decks or against like a bomb. This card has won me games just because the clogging of the card pool is very, very, very tough to deal with. Because it's a 5 check, also it re-readies History's Greatest Monster, which is very funny on defense. And then sometimes when I have struggling out, I can just pick up this action with struggling with studies, and then just play it again on the next deck, and then clog another card in the card pool. So depending on what I have on board, this is even more powerful than just by itself. But essentially, these 7 cards in the deck, I usually find at least one, like early in the game. So I have at least one out or one in my hand, and it'll help me get through the early game if someone's playing a very fast deck, right? Like a Toga or something. Like this has won me games against Toga. Runaway has just won me games because it stopped them from just going wild in the first attack turn.
I am familiar.
Yeah. Oh yes. Okay, and then last 2 cards. Okay, these ones are not vital to the deck. Like I would say, all the cards we see here, they're all purpose driven. They all work with each other or with the character specifically, to either keep me alive in the early game or the mid game or the late game, or to make sure that my deck is always presenting a very threatening board early, mid, and late game. So these last 2 cards, they're just extras that can be swapped out for other things, but they're good in general. They're always just useful. Fearsome Transformation is just a draw. It's a 1-diff. It just says enhance, flip, draw 1 card. If you have no momentum, discard 1 card. I always have momentum, and this is always a draw 1 card for a flip cost. And then I used Ryukyu Training Agency. This one has 2 responses. It's response, commit. After your attack is blocked, build the next foundation you play this turn. That's the reason why it's in the deck. There's 1 card that I swap this out with if I need damage pump, but this card is always helpful for being able to build any one of these more important, like especially these. If I can build one of these on the attack turn where I'm trying to kill you, having this on board, you block an attack, and I build 1 more of these on stage is super big. That is a huge bonus to my attack turn. Like that can be the reason why I win a game. Or if I'm at 8, which I often in testing found myself at 8 foundations after my second turn, this allows me to get to 9 in the middle of my attack turn as well. So that was also the reason why I ran this one and the other one, which I'll go into my sideboard afterwards. This also has a deadlock response. It says commit. After your attack is blocked, your rival commits 2 foundations. So my deck already does a good job stunning. If I need a little bit more, I can use that as a backup extra deadlock. Or just as a threatening move to keep them out of deadlock, right? So that was the deck, the full deck in its entirety here. It's actually like not as many. It's not very doesn't have a lot of different kinds of cards. I guess there's a lot of four ofs, but it just works so well together that I just didn't want to add any more cards to it. It just works really really well like this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we saw it on full display throughout the tournament. Were you on stream more than just the finals?
Yeah, I was streamed 3 times. I was streamed against Andrew's Ymir and Tim Keefe's Godzilla, and then your Bertolt too.
Yeah, and we got to see, I think, almost every facet of the deck come into play between the damage reduction, the long strings, the pretty big attacks once you transformed. That's probably the biggest mistake I made was I'm terrible at counting my foundations in general. I accidentally go to 11 foundations, which is the worst
Yeah,
foundation count to go to because of deadlock all the time. So
yeah.
playing around the transforms has been tough for me. And once you transformed and turned the award the victor combo into I'm looping this attack that already hit you, but now it's +3 damage, and now we're stunning everything out. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin for me. I really underestimated the extra damage that Bert gives on the flip side.
Yeah, the game one I think situation was like that. And then oh actually no, what happened in game two? No, you're right. Yeah. I mean it's tough though because um in the Bertolt 2 situation, I think you just had to go you had to go to 10 you had to go to at least 10 foundations and hope that I didn't draw like a bunch of attacks that could go to momentum in order to ruin you on the next one, but um
Well, I think in future builds, you'll have to watch out for Bertholds who just draw Colossus SWAT and can threaten to do it like on their own end step before you transform. But you already said the deck is made to play on the front side, right? So transformed
yeah.
is not as pivotal for you, and you can definitely kill someone on
3 foundations. It depends which three I have, but yeah. And against Bertolt 2, it depending on if they transform at the end of their own turn, it gives me an opportunity to build like a lot of foundations to or like certain foundations or to draw runaways or stuff like to help me defend because they'll just be on 3. So that matchup is very very like weird. I don't fully understand it, but I just do understand that I just have to try to keep you from not transforming as fast as I can. Um, and but the way that my deck is built, I was allowed to just play every attack in my hand or almost every attack in my hand, like every turn because there was like so much check hacks like award the victor check hacks rewriting with history's greatest monster nice or master's pride nice try right like those kinds of plays were very very pivotal in killing turn.
All right, so let's say things aren't necessarily going perfect, or we got some options that we might want to swap out. What's the sideboard look like?
Yeah, so this deck it was weak into well depending on whether I find broken psyche it was really weak into attacks like into just massive attacks like a deck that like Smiling Titans, right? So originally I had my sideboard set up to be able to defeat Smiling Titan or decks that could produce similar kinds of things like maybe Godzilla would be able I would side into Godzilla some of these things too. So first I had a Genkai's Guidance. I'll make some space here. So first we have a Genkai's Guidance. This I sided into um, like only the decks that they had like a key attack they needed to play. And if I found this, I could hold it because I can get to 9 pretty quick, so I don't mind losing 3 because like you said, I can play on not a lot of foundations just fine. So this is just an extra one. For those of you who don't know what it does, it's response and form. It has response, destroy. It's an action card. Response, destroy 3 foundations. After your rival plays an attack, remove it from the game. So it just says nope to an attack. And then if I want to use the first form, it says remove, discard one card from your rivals. From your rivals. Oh, I'm sorry. The first form is remove, discard one card. Your rival discards one card. So I can discard one and make my opponent discard one. Let's just say that they have like 3 cards in their hand. I can just make them have 2 cards, and then maybe that'll be enough to kill. But usually I'd use that for the response. I have decoy duplicate in the side. This is useful again for the same reason why Genkai's is. It just says enhance, remove, discard one momentum, discard one or discard this attack from the card pool. Your rival may draw a card. So if my opponent needs like really key attacks, I just have this on my board and I leave it there and I say, oh, there's the attack, enhance, it's gone, right? Like, just a very helpful move, an extra one. I don't own Cape of No Return, but I had Cape of No Return here. I was borrowing it, but I had to return it. Wasn't able to get any. But Cape of No Return is also another one that I would have here. If for anyone who doesn't know what it does, it's an asset. Its enhanced is I can remove it to remove the attack from the card pool. Same thing as decoy, essentially. Next was Childlike Appearance. These are all cards that help me essentially deal with big attacks. Enhance, destroy, discard one momentum, reduces attack speed to 0 if it is blocked, commit one rival foundation. So my deck has a little bit of a weakness committing, like forcing committing my opponent's cards, so like target committal. So Vast Hybrid kind of solved that, but if I needed more, I can always side in Childlike Appearance to help with that. If I'm going against decks that have a lot of responses that I need to negate, I have 2 incredible displays. The response is commit. After you block with a foundation, add it to your hand. That's one of the responses. The other response is commit. Discard one momentum. After your rival plays a non-character responsibility, cancel it. So I always have momentum. So all these cards, are essentially only able to operate really well because I always have momentum. So it feels really good to play these like pretty strong cards. This will solve the problem of like if someone plays Runaway against me, if someone plays like Genkai's Guidance against me, right? This just solves all those problems. And then the last one is the Titanic Combat. This is the one that I would replace this one with, the Ryukyu Training Agency, if I need damage pump, because it essentially almost is the same thing. It gives me an extra foundation, but it just doesn't do it during my attack turn. And then it gives 2 damage if I need the extra damage. So this has 2 abilities: response, commit. After you take damage from an unblocked attack, build the top card of your deck face down committed. And then enhance your attack, commit. This attack gets 2 damage, and your rival commits 1 foundation. So this is like commit, you commit 1, so it's like a stun 1. And then this is very helpful against decks that have resets or that say bring the attack to 0, right? Like I cited actually all 3 of these into you, but I didn't find one on the second game because reducing 6 damage in 1 turn or 1 attack was something when you were hitting me there. But this is the sideboard I was using. Like it can very much be anything else. Like this is just how I liked it, but it could have been. There's a lot of cards to choose from that you can put it on the side depending on how you want to fight. But those were all the cards in my side.
So, is there anything we missed from the deck? Is there any combos or anything you think that the good folks at home still need to know?
Well, I never got to do the ambush thrust thing. I think I never got to do the I think that's the only thing actually. To be honest, I think I actually like at least 1 copy of everything in this got played. Oh, actually, there was one thing. I was really hoping this would happen, and actually, it was supposed to happen against him, but I forgot that I played it out of my hand, because my head was still on the last turn because I almost died on game 2. The turn prior when I was blocking, I blocked with the Hungry for Fame, and I had Ryukyu Training Agency on my stage. I was planning on holding this and playing it on my next attack turn, but I blocked with it, and then I was gonna pick it up with struggling, but he failed the block, so it didn't matter. Or he failed to play the attack, so it didn't matter. But because I blocked with this already, it went to discard pile. So on my next attack turn, I was supposed to, when he blocked an attack, use Riku Training Agency to try to build Hungry for Fame from my hand, but I forgot it wasn't in my hand anymore. So I ended up building the Fearsome Transformation instead because it's just an extra draw. But ideally, it would have been really cool to be able to play another Hungry for Fame and then use it on the next attack to pick up another attack, or even build an Award the Victor. Ideally, the best card for this is either Award the Victor or Hungry for Fame, or potentially it could also be History's Greatest Monster, right? Like any of these three would be like prime targets for Yuki Trading Agency on an attack turn. Very, very, very helpful.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like you'd make too many changes. Just a couple of cards that you might not have had copies of available. And it sounds like you've got a pretty good handle on the character, the deck overall. Tell me, how important do you think like having the 35 health pool was? How big of a deal is starting health right now?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. But it depends how you play with it, right? Like if you're gonna play a Bertolt deck that's super defensive, obviously it'll take like a long time to get through 35. Like if you're playing a lot of damage reduction, which you can. There's a lot of chaos cards that have a lot of damage reduction, so that's also an option. And you have even a card like Armor of the Ape, which just sits in the momentum and says -1 damage on every attack, right? Like you can play a deck like that and it works just fine. It just doesn't. It's just not as aggressive, I guess. But yeah, 35 health was very helpful in being able to essentially like play the mental game with my opponent in a sense, because um, I wanted the deck to be able to present an aggressive stage at all times. And that's very important because it starts playing the mental game with your opponent where they don't want to overcommit. Because if they overcommit, they'll think to themselves, "Well, I don't want to die," right? Um, so I think that this deck does a really good job at doing that because it always has things ready. Usually, it always has things ready into my opponent's turn. So like I can just very easily play one or two attacks and just end my turn. And even if I have 4 attacks in hand, I can just play one or two, maybe draw a card, play 2 or 3 foundations, end with 2 cards in hand, and be like pass. Ending with 2 cards in hand, I think is allowed because I have 35 health. Like if I was Ymir and I ended with 2 cards in hand, I would just die. So telling your opponent like, hey, I want you to accidentally check a 3 and commit too many foundations. That's how I play the game. Um, I like tempting my opponent to play too many attacks. Um, so in a situation where I have to defend, I'll just play a little bit less I'll play a little bit less cards in general. Like I'll play maybe 1 attack, maybe 2 attacks, play 3 foundations, end with 2 cards in hand, or like draw a card, and depending on what attack I play, what I have down, I'll draw a card, so I'll have 3 in hand. It all just depends on like who I'm going against. If I'm going against a defensive deck, I'm just allowed to play so many cards. If I'm playing against another aggro list, I have to play a little bit less cards. Um, but depending on who I'm going against, like for example Ymir, I was throwing every attack out. I had to try to kill before I got killed because Ymir's strategy is it's I can't deal with it. It's too fast. It puts too much damage. They play too many attacks, so I just have to kill Ymir early, and my deck is able to do that. I'm able to play a lot of attacks in the early to present that really dangerous board state, which I think affected Andrew a little bit. Yeah. That one turn, he definitely did not have to go to 9. Granted, though, if he even though he went to like 11 or 12 foundations on game, can't remember which game it was, but on one of the games, and he let me transform. I had game anyway, I do like 5 attacks, like literally just raw off the top of my deck. Um, I would have killed him regardless of whether I was transformed that turn or not. But the it would have been even easier to play even more attacks on the untransformed state because your opponent like doesn't want to block because then it clears my card pool. But if they don't block, they're just gonna die, right? Like so that kind of dynamic is like very hard. Like I observe, it's very hard for my opponent to think through that. Um, so man, I just I love doing that. I don't know, but it's like if I was to fight against this though, um, the I know it's a lot to think through, but if you go against Bert1, the only question you should really be asking yourself is, do I want to take the damage of the attack? It doesn't, no matter what, you can't stop the attack from going to momentum. It's just when do you want it to go there? Now or at the end of his turn, right? And like in general in the early game, that's the only decision you really have to be making. Um, Depending on what character you're playing, like as a 7-hander, you just block everything. You just have to block everything. But if you block everything, then it just makes me potentially stronger on that given turn, depending on what I have, right? So it's very dynamic. It's very interesting. But yeah, I'm really happy with this though because um as one of the rules that I have for deck building, I always ask myself, right, what is the worst possible hand I can draw? Like foundation wise, right? For what my game plan is. My game plan is to kill by turn 3. By turn 3 I'll have probably 9 foundations, or I'll have enough foundations to play like 5 attacks and potentially kill on that turn. And I can do that really easily. And while I look at this, right, I'm like, it's very hard to find the worst hand. Like I can work with anything I draw I use on any given turn. And I think that allows for such a fluid gameplay that is like one of the reasons why um like like I it's very hard to stop essentially because of that. Um Man, yeah, like if we just take like any attack, like by turn 3, I could start with double trouble. You know, stun 2, draw, discard 2, right? Like assuming I'm not transformed, right? Start with double trouble. If like the worst case scenario is you have nothing committed and I draw 3 walk the dogs. It's like the worst case scenario, like on turn 3. Um, but that's probably not going to happen. But even if it does happen, it doesn't matter. I'll slam it down on an 8. Doesn't matter. I'll probably have 1 or 2 of these things that ready themselves. Um, and then after that, I can use all of my effects to pick up my momentum, right? And then like replay like the good ones. Um, Man,
Yeah, I mean,
man,
Chaos
there's
card
just so
quality
much.
is just incredibly high, right? All these cards are doing something amazing for whatever they're statted for, and they pretty much all do things that like Chaos decks are really good at, like using momentum, spending momentum, readying resources, check bonuses, all that stuff is like really coming together.
Yeah, yeah, this is yeah. I haven't really felt like I built a deck this like what's the word? Like focused, right? Like since like last year. Um, like my last best deck, which was definitely my Nomu deck, was my last best deck. It was very focused and it was very strong. This feels like that, to be quite honest. Um, so it feels like it just feels really great to just be able to play, and pick and choose, right? Like as you saw on stream, I found one Chimera. I think it happened against who did it happen against? It happened against Tim, I think. It happened against Tim or you. I think it was Tim Keefe though. I played one Chimera, the same Chimera Kraken, twice, and then picked it up. So I could have played it a third time, but I didn't. And I just held it on my hand, right? The ability to do that is is just crazy. Like doing that with like Deception Dagger, for example, I just stunned 6 by playing one attack 3 times. Like the same attack 3 times, right? Because of how it works with Rewards of Victor and Hungry with Fame, right? That's just so much value for like essentially I'm gonna say free, right? You commit flip 1 Hungry for Fame and you just flip Rewards of Victor and you get to play the same attack 3 times. That's essentially free. And for me, I've always loved playing decks with a strategy like that to pick up attacks, to find more attacks by replaying them, right? I've all of the decks I've ever built have functioned a little bit that way, but this one does it a lot. Like it's very potent in that area. So you know, if someone was to pick up this deck, the game plan, right? If you in testing it, if you want to test it, we can have the link in the video to it if you want. We'll say you know, you're going against a really aggro list. You play one, you know, attack that you pull to get a momentum, or even maybe depending on how strong your opponent just played their first turn, you might not play any attacks and just build 4 or 3 and pass, right? And hold 3 to block with. But you play one attack, play 3 or 4 foundations, and end, right? Next turn, play maybe 2 attacks, 2 foundations, end, right? And then like on your next turn, like this would be like turn 3 or 4 now, you might just have lethal because you'll have enough of the key pieces. You might have 100 for Fame, 1 Reward the Victor, which is already enough to play 1 attack 2 extra times. So 3 attacks might turn into 5 attacks. You know, if you maybe draw an extra card with Walk the Dog, you might find it a 6th attack, and you'll just play a string of 6 attacks. And the first couple attacks will be on like 0 progressive. That might just kill someone. Like, and you can choose the block zones too, because let's just say like you feel like they're not holding like any lows, right? You'll just pick up the Walk the Dog from the momentum, pick up the Rapid Speed Slash from the momentum, or like you know, there's a lot of versatility in that regard, in selecting what you want to replay, what you want to pick up. There's so much flexibility that it just and because you're staying on your front side so much, your opponent doesn't know when you're going to kill them. They actually can't tell. Like this is like a phenomenon I was recognizing. They just see that you have like, let's just say 6 momentum by turn 3. For all they know, they could just be dead on that turn, but they might not. But they have no idea because the way that I play usually is, I'll play 2 attacks and maybe not transform when I could have, and they'll block. And then after they block, I'll just transform, and then I'll just kill them. After they used some of their stuff on the first 1 or 2 attacks, and that might cause the opponent to misplay on one of the first 2 attacks because they might think to themselves, "Oh, he's not killing me. He's not using anything," right? Like, so there's the ability to play the mental game. I think is also really big because of this. As long as someone's at 9 foundations in order so that you can transform, it's yeah. No, I mean, it was really cool. There's a lot there. You have the option to play aggressively or passively. You have yeah, you can. It's so flexible. You can do so much.
Well, I think I only really have one more question for you, and that's because while we were playing, excuse me, while we were playing in, I think you were in semifinals, and my opponent Marvin had conceded to me. Who, again, I have to reiterate from that tournament, Fire Pony or Earth Pony 2-0'd me in Swiss, and then
Yeah.
Marvin, conceded. So your finals probably should have been Bert1 versus Pony, but
Yeah, yeah. No,
while
I think I would have lost the pony. I'm gonna be honest. So I forgot. I remember. So when Tam interviewed me, I couldn't remember what the last character was. I'm like, oh no, there was a character that I was like really weird about going against. It was Pony. Yeah. So Marvin beat me at Atlanta actually, and mind you, the deck was a little bit worse at Atlanta, but I do believe that Pony still would have killed me. However, it's possible that I could have beat him. Um, as long as he didn't get like the most godlike hand on his first attack turn, because he doesn't have a lot of health. I can just kill him on my first attack turn. It's possible, depending on like how much he commits, right, to play the attack string. The matchup really, like, the 35 health matters a lot in that matchup. So like going back to when you asked about how 35 health, like how important is that? That's hugely important in that matchup because the game plan is to just kill you on like turn 2, maybe turn 3, by playing your whole deck of attacks, which is crazy that that's even legal. But
Yeah, it's just Berthold
um,
2, but on turn 2. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
slightly less damage, but it plays more attack. So I don't know, but the the main focus I'm trying to get at is while the tournament was going on, people were talking on Facebook about Berthold 2, and
yeah.
in
I
the
saw it the next day.
comments,
I saw it the next day.
yeah, and in the comments, someone had mentioned how Berthold 1 had gotten nerfed too soon. And so I need to ask you, do you think Berthold 1 deserved the day zero errata?
Oh yeah, no, of course it shouldn't have been released like that. I mean, to release a card like that, I might get in trouble maybe for saying this, but um, I thought to myself, like, whoever designed this, there's no way they've played the game before. Like, there's just no way, right? Like, you can't have that response be not once per turn. Um, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
supposedly
just
it was
crazy.
supposed to be once per turn, and the wrong file got sent to the printer. So we are to
Yeah, I'm
believe that it
assuming it's a
was never
mistake. Yeah,
meant
I'm
to
assuming it's a
be
mistake.
unlimited, but it was previewed that way.
Yeah, no, it was, no, it was. If this card was legal the way it's printed without the once per turn clause, it would be the best character in the game,
Yeah, I don't think
probably.
that's a
Like
stretch at all.
in standard. I mean, like it's like tier 0. There's no way that it's just crazy. Like you can't block it, which means you're just dead. Like
Right, yeah, you just get like almost no payoff for blocking when they can accrue and spend it so much, especially with your build where you get
yeah.
to loop stuff. That being said, I do think we gotta wrap this up. So if there's any other points that we didn't get to or anything, any shout outs you want to give, now is the time to go through it.
Yeah, no, no, it's good. We said everything. I just, encourage people to, if they want to try it, just try it out. It might take a couple games to like kind of get the hold of it. In terms of importance to reiterate really quick, this top row is the core. This is like how the deck operates. Um, I really wouldn't change anything here. Like take away like for all the attacks. You can like maybe change the ratio a little bit, but I wouldn't change anything in this row. Um, this row, put this over here. Nice try is also really important, but this row is they're also like really important. I wouldn't change a lot of the foundations here. I wouldn't change these at all. These attacks, there's a lot of good chaos attacks. You can change them to match your style that you like. But this just package just works so well. I really enjoy it. And then these ones, these are just defensive pieces and just extras. You can, if you have a better way to defend, you can change these. Doesn't matter. Um, but uh, yeah, I just encourage people to like try it. The deck does have its weaknesses. I'm not gonna give them away here. You're gonna have to figure it out by testing against it. But the uh, yeah, no, I encourage people to try it. It's a really fun deck to play.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to join me and talk about it today. Thank you for those of you who are watching on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And that's going to do it for us. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.